going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me on my channel, Brutus on Baseball. Today is a very exciting video that I'm putting together because it is my 1-year anniversary of posting videos here on YouTube. So I was having a conversation with my family about what I should do for my video today to commemorate my 1-year anniversary of being on YouTube. And the idea that they shared with me was that they wanted to ask me questions about my YouTube experience and my baseball video making experience. It was September 20th, 21st of last year when I posted my very first video, which of course was my introduction to the channel. And I have managed somehow to follow that up with a new video every single week for the last 52 weeks, something that I'm really very proud of. My first videos were actually geared more toward learning the game of baseball for brand new beginners to the game. But over time, that's kind of expanded, evolved into a lot of videos about the history of the game, how to understand the game, and some about collecting baseball cards as well. I really wanted to make sure that this channel stayed about all things baseball, not just card collecting. And so I really try hard to make sure that there's a diversity in the topics that I bring to my videos. I wanted to make this video to say thank you to everybody out there who's commented, liked, subscribed, shared. Every single bit helps me to be able to expand this channel and reach even more people every single day. I've hit a lot of milestones in that first year. The first 100 subscribers, 200, 250, 300, 400, and most recently 500. As of today, I'm sitting at 556 subscribers in my first year, which I'm pretty excited about. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, I can inch my way closer to 1,000. Looking at some of my other analytics on YouTube, I've actually had about 3,700 watch hours. So I'm really, really close to being able to get to the 4,000 watch hours. The first couple months, it was really slow going. I didn't have a whole lot of views. It really all started for me on November 4th of 2022 when I posted my first video about the top 10 players that I thought would be able to make the Hall of Fame. And those Hall of Fame videos, I made 5 of them in total: Contemporary Era Ballot, the Classic Era Ballot, the Writer's Ballot, and then top players over 30 and under 30 that are still active that I think are most likely to make the Hall of Fame. Those videos were what really gave me the bump that I needed to get a lot more views. My top videos right now are actually the top 10 contemporary era baseball Hall of Fame candidates. 2,931 views on that one. Top 10 insert sets from the junk wax era, 2,740 views. And then I've got 7 more videos over 1,000, so I'm really stoked about that. So let's jump right in. I'm gonna bring in each one of my family members, my partner Nina, my bonus son Gavin, and my daughter Jasmine, and they are each gonna ask me a couple questions that they want to know the answers to about my experience so far. And if you have any questions about my journey, either in the past or looking forward, put them in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to answer your questions too. All right, so starting with family questions, here is Gavin, and he's going to be here with me for a moment to ask me a couple questions on his mind about my YouTube journey and whatever's on your mind. So what do you want to ask?
So who are you most excited about going into the Hall of Fame?
I did make a couple videos about who I think is most likely to get into the Hall of Fame. Are you trying your best not to laugh? You're giggling, aren't you? All right. A little bit nervous, maybe? It's okay. So I made a couple videos about who I think is most likely to get into the Hall of Fame, 5 different videos actually. So there's a lot of information there, but who am I most excited about getting into the Hall of Fame? That's what you're wondering. Out of the current players, I'm really excited about Mookie Betts getting into the Hall of Fame. He's a phenomenal player. He's only 30 years old and he's already pretty close to being a Hall of Famer as it is. So I'm really excited to see his career unfold. And then the other guys, I'm excited about seeing how some guys' careers unfold to see if they actually get close and get there. Corey Seager would be a good example. It's going to be really interesting to see how his career progresses the next decade. The other side of the list, who am I most excited about getting into the Hall of Fame from guys already retired, would probably be Todd Helton. I think he's going to get in this year, and he was one of my favorite players growing up with the Rockies. And I'm just very excited to actually see his name get called.
What was the hardest thing about your YouTube channel?
The hardest thing. So the hardest thing about making my YouTube channel, the hardest thing has definitely been the consistency, keeping up with it every single week, trying to make new videos, edit. I do all of my own editing, all of my own graphics, everything. It's time consuming, especially since I have a full-time job outside of that. So that's been probably the hardest thing, is just keeping up with being able to do it.
And what was like the easiest thing?
The easiest thing. Okay, so the hardest thing and the easiest thing. So the hardest thing I already told you. The easiest thing, I think what surprised me, it was a lot easier than I thought, was coming up with ideas. I think there are an endless number of ideas about baseball that I'm excited to talk about. And at first I kind of wondered, will I have a hard time coming up with new ideas? But it's actually been very easy. There's always something that's like, oh, I should talk about that next. So that's kind of been the easiest thing so far, is the ideas. All right, everybody. So continuing on with questions from the family, this is my daughter, Jasmine, and Jasmine has thought up some questions of her own to ask me. So I'll give her the mic and let her ask away.
My first question is, which video are you the most proud of making?
That's a good question. If I had to pick one, I would probably say the economics of being a baseball player. And it's might be cheating a little bit because it's actually 2 videos. It was a series that I made, and it was a super long video. And so I had to cut it in 2. I maybe should have cut it. Actually, I did it in 3, but the third one is economics of a minor league player. But I'm probably most proud of that one because I put a lot of research into that one. And some of it was my own, wanting to learn for myself. So I read several different books. And I read all about Curt Flood's book. I read the Lords of the Realm, the baseball book about the owners, all sorts of things, some old time baseball books. And I really learned all about how baseball players have been treated and paid over the century and a half that we've had this game. So I put a lot of research and effort into that video, and I really enjoyed making it so I could give all that information to other people. Next question.
Okay. Which subject are you the most excited about making a video for?
That I haven't made a video for yet?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm working hard on right now, and it may take a little bit of time for it to come out, but I've started reading and writing things up for it, is the history of baseball cards. And I'm really excited to share that one when the time comes. And again, it's going to be split into several different videos, I think, but it's going to go way back in time, talking about when cards were first made and come up. And then when it gets to the modern times, I'm going to be talking more in depth about the various companies that came along, the explosion in the 90s of all the different new types of cards, inserts, parallels, all that kind of stuff. It's going to take a lot to create that, I think, but I'm excited to actually get it ready.
Here's my last question.
Okay.
Who is your favorite baseball player of all time?
Okay, so first of all, that's an impossible question to answer. There's players from every era that I really have enjoyed watching, for those that I've been around for, and then I appreciate their games for all the players that I haven't seen. But it's so hard to pick one player of all time. It's really difficult. Can I cheat a little bit? Will you allow me to pick like a current player, and then maybe one from my childhood, and then maybe one old time guy?
Okay.
Okay. Current player, I would say Mookie Betts probably is my favorite current player. I love his game. I love his personality. I also really like Trey Turner. I like him a lot, but I'd probably pick Mookie. I think he would be my favorite player.
I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, you like Mookie, don't you? Players from when I was growing up, Jeff Bagwell, easy. I was a huge Bagwell fan. I loved watching him play. And, a very underrated first baseman on the all-time list. He could do everything well. He could run, he could hit, he could play defense, everything. And his career just got cut short due to, shoulder arthritis, I think it was. Close second, third, Todd Helton, Frank Thomas. I was a big, slugging first baseman type guy back when I was a kid. And then old-time players, I was always a huge fan of Jimmy Fox. Again, when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the slugging first base type. And I just thought that he was incredibly underrated because he played in the same era as Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and all those guys, and not as many people talk about Jimmy Fox. And so I really always loved Jimmy Fox. So it's my partner, Nina. Nina, what would you like to ask me?
What was one of the videos that you loved making, but it didn't get the views or the response that you were hoping for?
Okay, so one of my favorite videos to make, and I was really, quite proud of the process of making it, was the top 10 Negro League players of all time. There was a lot of research that I put into that, a lot of learning myself that I didn't necessarily know a lot about some of these players' careers. And I put a lot of effort into that one. And then I got to admit that I was a little bit disappointed at the number of views that it got. I even released it on Jackie Robinson Day, hoping that that would pump it up a little bit, get people actually looking for, Negro League players, kind of the history. And it didn't really do it. I think even to now, it has less than 300 views. So for the amount of time and effort that I put into that video, it was a little bit of a disappointment that it hasn't gotten more. But, hopefully maybe in the future it will.
What is something about one of your videos that surprised you?
So I guess something about one of my videos that surprised me would be how it performed, probably. Surprised me after making it, because I kind of knew what was going into it as I was making it. But I think for that one, there was one in particular that does come to mind. It was the video that I made for the 1990s, my top 10 insert sets from the 1990s. And I'm a huge 1990s collector. That's when I grew up collecting baseball cards, and insert sets were my favorite thing back then. And I poured a lot of my heart into that video, looking at all these old insert sets that I really used to love, and I was excited about sharing that video. And I think what surprised me here about it was, as I was making the video and putting it out, I felt great about that video. I felt that it was going to do extremely well, and it did not. It bombed completely. And I think the first weekend it had 30 views, and after a month it had 50 views, and I was disappointed. And I was actually to the point where I was planning to remove that video so that I could repost it at some point in the future. And then suddenly, I'd say 3 months after releasing it, it just took off. For whatever reason, who knows what the algorithm does, it just went off all of a sudden. And now it's my second most viewed video. It's got 2,700 views. And I didn't see that coming at all when it was a month, 2 months in, still under 100 views. It turns out that people still got to enjoy it eventually. So that was quite surprising that happened. That was kind of the trajectory of that video. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And so how was was it a roller coaster for you to go through that emotionally about your YouTube channel, things going up and down?
At times, yeah. I think that for the most part, the YouTube channel is a grind, right? You just continue making videos. And so if you get on the roller coaster or allow yourself to get on the roller coaster, it becomes much more difficult. So you have to stay pretty level-headed, but still there were some videos that I was disappointed with how they performed, or that I was really ecstatic about how they performed. And so it goes both ways, and you just can't let yourself get too affected by the product. Just the results, I guess, is what really matters at the end of the day. And so thank you, all three of you guys, for asking the questions. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys watched and learned something a little bit different too by this interaction and having my family members up here asking questions that they're curious about. I am excited about my first year coming to an end and seeing what comes in the next year and much more after that too. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again from me and my family for watching, for subscribing, for hanging out. Until next time, keep talking baseball, and we'll see you around.
Subscribe!